Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, thank you. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Perfect World based on novel. So let's start. 8 directions, 8 paths, they all surrounded the massive altar at the center. Supreme being ancient altar, a structure even taller than mountains, reaching into the clouds, incomparably massive. Apart from this, there was even strange spatial natural laws surrounding this place. That was why the decisive battles of another path would not be witnessed by people of other routes. When Xiahou appeared and walked forward, he didn't attract any attention. On the contrary, there was a disturbance up ahead that drew the attention of all of the supreme experts here. There were people from Xin province who wanted to forcefully make it through. You, and the rest of you, who are you trying to fool? Don't think that I cannot tell that you have sinner's blood. You still dare get in the front. Get as far from me as can be and make way for the others. The thin-lipped woman from Phantom Drake Dowgate spoke, her words sharp and her face cold. Her face that was still considered beautiful carried disdain and contempt. This time, it was clearly different. There were many people from Xin province, and all of them activated precious artifacts, planning to attack together, because they felt too repressed. Firecloud Cavern's scarlet-clad male had blood at the corners of his lips. He held the precious ruler while coldly looking out, releasing a great pressure. In his surroundings, the other individuals looked like they weren't serious, but they were all taking precautions. They weren't looking at this group of people, but instead at the entire supreme expert crowd, searching for something. It was clear that they were worried that the one who used the golden lotuses would reappear. When both sides were nervously confronting each other, everyone suddenly saw a youth walk forward, stepping into the scene. This type of mood was terrifyingly tense, yet he unexpectedly broke this silence. You, back off to the side first. Enter after we dealt with these people. Phantom Drake Dowgate's woman spoke, her thin lips carrying cold intent as she shot Xiahou a look. If I want to enter, why would I need your permission to do so? Xiahou didn't stop his steps, his pace unchanged as he continued forward. You are quite daring. The woman frowned as she looked at him. At this moment, everyone became shocked. This youth was full of confidence, unexpectedly daring to talk to the people of these two inheritances like this, not simple at all. A streak of light flashed past. In front of the road, behind Firecloud Cavern's scarlet-clad male's back, a young expert, who looked rather nonchalant, lightly moved the bone mirror in his hands. As a result, something no one expected happened. With just this casual sway, the forehead of the youth that was walking over shone, his entire body erupting with brilliant radiance. He looked like a sun god's child, wrapped around by the brilliant radiance, blood energy surging. A Xin character appeared on his forehead, scattering the clouds above. It's you. Found you, Sinner's blood descendant, great vicious engraved patterns. Everyone was shocked, their expressions changing greatly. This casual illumination unexpectedly exposed the one they were looking for. So young, acting so carefree as he walked over. This didn't seem that realistic. They originally thought that it would be hard to find him, believing that this person wasn't in Xin province, yet in the end, he truly appeared. As for the other party, the other supreme experts were stirred on. During these past few days, the events regarding the sinner's blood descendant whose forehead released sacred light, scattering the clouds, had stirred up great commotion, making all sects unable to sit still. Who would have expected to see this person with their own eyes? He appeared. Is he going to challenge several inheritances? Everyone's eyes began to sparkle, all of them holding their breaths. Great emotions and excitement stirred within them. Especially those of Xin province, all of their blood surging, feeling like they couldn't stop themselves from screaming out. Now that this kind of figure appeared, were they going to get them out of this predicament? As for Xiahou himself, he was quite cold. He looked at the ones blocking the road indifferently. Through what had happened, he knew which inheritances it was exactly that was targeting Xin province, suppressing Sinner's blood descendants. Luofu True Valley, Phantom Drake Dowgate, Firecloud Cavern, and others. They were all the most ancient, top-level great sects. This made his mind sink. No wonder Sinner's blood was wronged. With these unmatched inheritances joining up, it truly made one's heart tremble. They really could cover the sky with their hands, concealing the truth. Only, he didn't know why these people didn't completely wipe out Xin province's people. Do they have some misgivings? Are they worried over something? Xiahou was exceptionally calm at this moment, thinking of many things. Could it be that after sealing the sky and earth, the Sinner's blood descendants, who were protecting the borders, were still alive, some of them still alive in this world after all these years. When he thought of this, Shahao's mind violently trembled. If those people returned alive, what kind of events would take place? Thinking up to this point, his war blood began to boil. All of you back off. Shahao said, having Sin Province's supreme experts retreat to the side. He faced these people alone, gather the others. These people trembled inwardly. Even though they knew that Sinner's blood density didn't mean that Shahao would have an advantage, they were still worried, reporting to the other inheritances. There was someone who wanted to leave and send a message to the other 7 paths. Not a single one of you should even think about leaving. Shahao said. Even though he looked delicate and pretty, when he walked up alone, there was a wave of pressure that made others' hearts tremble. You think you can stop others from leaving just by saying those words? A person sneered, turning into a stream of light, about to leave. Shahao's body shone, earth to inches, shrinking thousands of jong into inches, crossing this distance. He blasted his fist out. Everyone's minds trembled. How fast of a speed was this? With just a flash before their eyes, they lost track of his whereabouts. At the same time, heavenly overflowing divine radiance surged. This was only this youth's fist radiance, yet it streaked across the sky like lightning, shooting down an expanse of shooting stars. This was too brilliant. Someone shouted loudly there, using divine weaponry to block this attack and used secret methods as well, but they were all still useless. This was a supreme expert that reached the consummate level, as well as a heroic elite of a great sect, yet he was blasted out like a scarecrow, and then exploded in midair. That youth's fist was too vicious, destroying divine-level magical artifacts and blasting a genius to pieces. This was all done by a single strike. With a sure sound, a shadow flickered. He stood in the battlefield again, the corners of his clothes dancing about. His eyes were clear, his body surrounded by holy radiance, as if he had never left this place. This type of methods shocked everyone. Fire Cloud Cavern's scarlet-clad male took action. He brought out his precious ruler. A streak of scarlet multicolored light moved through the air, illuminating the eternal. This ruler was too special. If it didn't receive the restriction of the spirit realm, its power would be boundless. This was a supreme-level secret treasure, one that could also be called the supreme weapon of a cultivation realm. Normally speaking, it was unmatched here. At the same time, Phantom Drake Dao Gates girl took action. Her palm shone with multicolored light. A flood dragon tendon appeared, forming a rope that extended towards Shahao, immortal binding rope. Someone cried out in alarm. This was not an ordinary object, but the secret treasure personally refined by her sect's ancient Dao master. Even though it could only display might, at the supreme expert realm here, it could still be considered a supreme weapon. This was a great expense, coming here with such a great killing weapon, moreover not just a single one. This made the supreme experts of all sides feel fear. These super ancient and flourishing great sects cared this much about the sinner's blood descendant. They were clearly trying to kill the one whose forehead released holy light, fearing that something unexpected would happen. At the same time, others took action as well. There were a few individuals that rushed over from all sides to provide assistance. In Shahao's surroundings, golden lotuses were everywhere, surging with endless radiance. It was as if golden waves were rising and falling, illuminating the heavens. They stopped the scarlet precious ruler. At the same time, he barehandedly caught the immortal binding rope, and in his palm, stars moved one after another. Those were formed from lightning, forming a stellar river, kill. A great battle begun. The group of people attacked Shahao, but he didn't retreat half a step, instead welcoming these 2 supreme artifacts. He pressed forward with unmatched valiance, fighting a great battle against them. Meanwhile, within his body, figures shot out one after another, fast to the extreme. Those were spiritual bodies, catching up to the individuals that had just left for the distance. Simple and tyrannical, the auras of Shahao's spiritual bodies devoured mountains and rivers, their might heaven overflowing. Their opponents were blasted through one after another, exploding in midair. A rain of blood scattered down. Sin Province's people's eyes were brimming with tears of excitement. Just now, their hearts were sullen, suffering great humiliation. Now, someone came out for them, unleashing such a great slaughter, pushing ahead unstoppably, making their blood surge within them. Supreme weapons are useless. The nearby supreme experts were alarmed. There were several tens of thousands of them, and all of them were stupefied. They represented the extreme, magical artifacts that were unmatched here. Yet in the end, this person stopped them, moreover in an extremely unflustered manner as he slaughtered forward. His fist smashed outwards, directly landing on the blood-colored precious ruler, blasting it flying. It turned into a streak of blood-colored lightning, almost killing Fire Cloud Cavern's scarlet-clad male on the spot. Electricity erupted endlessly from Shahao's palm, turning into a string of stars, colliding with that immortal binding rope. Lightning erupted endlessly, blasting it until it released wailing sounds, as if draconic cries were shaking the 9 heavens. In the distance, the big names and heavenly deities from all different sects were shocked. This youth actually had such power. It wasn't that the supreme weapons weren't enough, but rather that this youth was too formidable. He was an outstanding talent among supreme beings. Supreme weapons, against supreme individuals, even if they had 1 or 2, it was still not enough. The youth's black hair danced about, his eyes releasing cold electricity. At this moment, blood energy surged into the heavens, roiling like a sea. He was just a single person, yet his might seemed to have oppressed heaven and earth, suppressed the world, overlooking all enemies. Fire Cloud Ruler was blasted flying again, releasing a light cry. Shahao was like a devil king. With a raise of his hand, divine radiance collapsed the void. He blasted out an extremely powerful fist, Fire Cloud Cavern's heroic expert, the scarlet-clad man that was ranked in the forefront of his sect, even while using this type of supreme secret treasure, couldn't protect himself. The precious ruler flew outwards, and he coughed out large amounts of blood. The wind caused by the fist swept about. Half of his body split apart. The young Devil King, whose entire body erupted with holy radiance, pressed forward, once again striking outwards. Heaven and earth rumbled. Fire Cloud Cavern's hero was blasted apart, his mind and soul destroyed. As for the precious ruler, it turned into a stream of light, unexpectedly escaping into the void, directly disappearing from its original spot. Shahao turned around, staring at that woman. Move together, kill him. Phantom Drake Dao Gates female screamed. Right now, she was truly scared. Not even exceptional talents, young supreme beings of a race could be this strong, right? Even supreme weapons were useless, unable to do anything to the other party. This left her feeling terrified, completely lacking her previous arrogance. Her harsh expression was replaced by fear. Golden lotuses blossomed everywhere, tangling with that immortal binding rope to forcibly break it. Immediately after, Shahao's hand flew over like an exceptional heavenly blade, sharp and resplendent. That woman's head flew out, carrying large amounts of blood. Her headless corpse collapsed onto the ground. Shahao walked over, his entire body shining, his fists reaching flesh and palms seeing blood. The heroic disciples of 2 ancient sects were killed one after another, all of them slaughtered. Fist radiance overflowed into the heavens, blood energy like ocean waves. Shahao stood on the battlefield alone, corpses resting all around him. Everyone was killed, blood dyeing this place red. Then, a rain of light surged, and these bodies disappeared. Several tens of thousands of supreme experts were in silence, all of them stunned, their souls trembling. What kind of power was this? In the distance, the big names and heavenly deities of various sects were trembling. This individual could actually do this. Even supreme weapons were useless, unable to stop him at all. Shahao released a cold glance towards the distance. The higher levels of each sect trembled inwardly, especially Fire Cloud Cavern and Phantom Drake Dao Gates heavenly deities. They were all shocked. What was this sinner's blood descendant trying to do? Could it be that he was going to challenge them, killed them well? Sin Province's people snapped back, their blood surging, crying out loudly. This place erupted with commotion. Shahao walked forward, approaching that magnificent supreme being ancient altar. Since you all dare to block the road and do this, then don't blame me for taking action as well. He approached the ancient altar, and then he suddenly turned around towards the cloud, saying, with me here, Phantom Drake Dao Gate, Luofu True Valley, Fire Cloud Cavern and the others, all of you inheritances can forget about having a single one of your people enter the altar. If anyone dares to take a step closer, I will kill them without exception. Everyone was shaken up. Those powerful inheritances, all of their disciples were going to be locked out, unable to pass this trial. This was too crazy. This was cutting those great sects' natural luck short, seizing their opportunity to enter Immortal Ancient. Shahao was like a great mountain as he stood in front of the altar, stopping all sects, suppressing all enemies here. Sinner's blood descendant. In the distance, someone muttered. There were a few heavenly deities whose eyes were resplendent, carrying killing intent as they stared at Supreme Being Ancient Altar. This type of freak appeared, powerful to a shocking degree. A few top figures were incredibly gloomy as they stared forward. Phantom Drake Dao Gate, Fire Cloud Cavern, and Luofu True Vowless people were the most upset. Shahao killed their heroic disciples and acted so tyrannically, it was unforgivable. In front of Supreme Being Ancient Altar, Shahao's clothes weren't dyed by blood and his eyes were clear. Even though he looked delicate and pretty, he exuded an insurmountable aura, blocking the path by himself, too arrogant. What do you treat Fire Cloud Cavern, Luofu True Valley as? Just a supreme expert, yet you dare to look down on all of those heroes. Someone said coldly, causing the surrounding temperature to drop. It became extremely cold. This time, there were 8 or 9 ancient sects that sent out their talented inheritors to block off the paths in Supreme Being Ancient Altar, all for the sake of stopping that sinner's blood descendant. There was no way they weren't going to attach importance to this. They bestowed supreme weapons, yet in the end, those 2 individuals were greatly defeated, their corpses laying bloodily on the ground. An incomparably oppressive sound rang through the air, as if a streak of thunder resounded through this place, ringing through everyone's minds. Even the big names and heavenly deities of different sects were no exception. Everyone felt the blood in their bodies speed up, their bodies greatly shaken, start ascending the altar. That cold voice sounded, no emotion or mood fluctuations to speak of. It was formed from natural laws, an existence that presided over this trial. Of the 700,000 to 800,000 supreme experts, only a portion were able to enter through the 8 paths, reaching the Supreme Being Ancient Altar. Less than half of them made it in, yet in the end, it already begun. It was clear that if Sin Province entered last, many people would have lost their qualifications, being left behind by others with similar strength as themselves. The space between Shahao's brows shone, releasing a golden beam of light. It turned into a divine sword, hacking into the crowd. After passing the tribulation, his primordial spirit became extremely condensed. Right now, it turned into a weapon, terrifying the people around him. All those that dared to turn their primordial spirits into weapons were freaks. Too domineering. In the distance, there were deities who were furious. The disciples of this path were all killed, not a single one able to escape. This made their faces cold, their expressions incomparably unpleasant. The main reason was because those people had symbol markings on them, unable to escape Shahao's inspection. They thought that they would be safe by hiding in the crowd, yet in the end, they still fell. Shahao's figure flickered, disappearing from this place. He began to ascend the altar. This place was noisy, several tens of thousands of experts rushing forward together with excitement, great emotions and shock. They all began to ascend the altar as well. The descendant of sinners' blood killed 2 great sect's disciples. This was the same as eliminating powerful competitors for them. At the same time, this slaughtering method made their hearts tremble. How many years has it been since something like this happened, daring to brandish a blade against the top inheritances of the higher realms? The sinner's blood descendant was powerful as expected. Hurry and look, he isn't heading up straight and is instead changing directions. Someone was given a fright, shouting out loudly. Shahao was as strong and healthy as a divine ape, crossing the Supreme Being Ancient Altar, and rushing to another direction, not going up. He is going to kill the people of other paths. Someone said, truly, powerful to a terrifying degree. Is he moving across the ancient altar to kill the people of other areas? Everyone was stupefied. How powerful was this? How exuberant does one's vitality have to be to do this? Normal people would all feel a mountainous pressure after reaching the altar, their movements sluggish. However, he was like this, as if he was walking on flat ground, heading towards another place. Supreme Being Ancient Altar, truly an extremely massive place. It exceeded great mountains, and was entirely pitch black in color, towering into the clouds. As a result, the distance between the 8 directions was quite far. Cultivators from different directions were in a different place, making it difficult for anything to happen in between paths. Even with this type of great distance, Shahao still sprinted move over extremely quickly. He was going to put all disciples from those ancient inheritances in check. Just a trifling supreme expert, yet he dares to do this. He is showing contempt for our ancient eternal inheritances. The creatures that watched this battle were all furious, their eyes cold. They moved as well, following his figure to see what his next actions were. He arrived on Supreme Being Ancient Altar. Someone cried out loudly. This was someone from Luofu Valley who left before to report ahead of time, joining another group of people. This is bad. He came from Fire Cloud Cavern and Phantom Drake Dow Gates direction. Could it be that those people have all been slaughtered clean? The expression of the people who were guarding this path changed greatly, all of them given a fright. Do you all want to go back yourselves? Or do you want me to send you all on your way? Shahao soared over, landing on the altar stairs with a hong sound, blocking this path and looking at this group of people. He could actually jump that high from Supreme Being Ancient Altar. Someone said with a stupefied expression. Now, everyone who participated here knew who it was that arrived. Descendant with sinner's blood, you are too egotistical. We didn't come looking for you, yet you dare take the initiative to show yourself. Are you here to cause trouble? One of them was unable to restrain his anger. Coming out first, you will be struck by disaster. A female even directly laughed coldly. Even though she was alarmed, she still couldn't hold back her anger and resentment. It was because these inheritances jointly overlooked Sin Province, high above all others, supervising and controlling sinners' blood descendants. There was an innate superiority within their hearts. It seems like I can only send you all on your way. Shahao didn't want to waste any words, directly taking action. In that instant, this place erupted with brilliance. Bone texts were layered on top of each other, divine force fluctuations intense, surrounding a large portion of the ancient altar. A great battle began, one that was especially intense. There was no way these people would resign themselves to this fate. There were people who held supreme weapons among this group as well. However, soon after, that girl was the first to release a miserable cry, a string of blood splashing out from the space between her brows, her skull crushed by a single finger from Shahao. Her corpse flew outwards. Then, a streak of light flew across, hacking 4 people at the waist. Blood dripped outwards, corpses resting by Shahao's feet. Even though the people here did everything they could to resist, they still couldn't avoid their fate of destruction, all of them killed soon after. There was only a single youth standing there, the altar beneath his feet dyed red. Sinner's blood descendant, he is challenging the great ancient sects with his actions. Too domineering. The supreme experts here cried out in alarm. They didn't know that Shahao had already taken action in 2 other places, killing a group of people. The ones who were inspired the most were naturally Sin Province's cultivators. Their blood was surging, loudly cheering. In the distance, the big names of various sects were all greatly shaken, some of them almost couldn't endure it any longer. This youth was too egotistical, actually daring to unleash a slaughter like this. Damn it, he is moving again. Even a heavenly deity revealed a furious expression, his emotions stirring and his eyes overcast as he stared at Shahao. As expected, he moved around the Supreme Being Ancient Altar, strong and vigorous like a dragon, fast and furious as he rushed towards another area. Now, this place completely erupted. Many supreme experts from other directions knew about this, and great commotions erupted everywhere. As for outside the battlefield, those spectators were chasing after that youth's movements as well, following him around the altar. All of their eyes were focused on him. Shahao displayed the earth to inches great divine ability, to its limit, as he moved around the ancient altar, unleashing a great massacre. However, when Shahao moved, the supreme experts he passed were shocked, only seeing him speed past as if he didn't receive any restrictions, rushing towards the first layer's highest point. Then, his body slowed down. He continued towards the second layer. Everyone was in an uproar. This was just too full of energy. One has to understand that many people were still working hard in the first layer, their heads covered in sweat, their bones about to be crushed. With a shua sound, Shahao's figure moved, once again leaping up. Even though his speed was now a bit slower, he still wasn't hindered, rushing towards the third layer. He's mad, truly a freak. How could his flesh travel at such a great speed while under that kind of pressure? Supreme Being Ancient Altar was extremely massive, far surpassing archaic demonic peaks. There were several tens of thousands of cultivators crawling, densely packed like ants. Everyone couldn't help but raise their heads and cry out. Others were still clenching their teeth while struggling to climb up, yet he was rushing upwards like this. Soon after, Shahao arrived at the highest point of the 3 layers. He was speechless. In this place, all 8 directions merged together, only one path leading further up. If he knew this earlier, he would have just came here first, no point in visiting the separate directions. Shahao stood here, blocking the path alone, overlooking everything below. Someone came up from a certain direction, shocked and angry, but also feeling some fear. They already received the report that the sinner's blood descendant was unleashing a massacre like a devil king. What are you trying to do? Someone berated. Are you an idiot? Isn't it obvious? Shahao said coldly. His hands were behind his back, his clothes fluttering about and black hair dancing in the air. His eyes were resplendent like divine lamps. A single person was blocking the path here, overlooking the world like a demonic lord, releasing a suffocating pressure. These people were shaken, and at the same time incomparably furious. A girl cried out, "Do you know what kind of disaster you provoked? Even if you can behave so atrociously here, once you return to the outside world, you will definitely die, murdered by others." The others' expressions were furious, their eyes carrying resentment. They were supposed to be the ones taking the initiative to attack, yet in the end, someone else was blocking the path, about to deal a fatal blow. Your inheritances, are they worth anything? There will be a day when the injustice of sinners' blood will be brought to light. Now that I am standing here today, not a single one of you can think about passing. Shahao said. He started ascending after everyone, yet he was the first one to arrive. This left everyone shocked. Regardless of whether it was the several tens of thousands of supreme experts, or the endless spectators, they were all shocked. The ones that were being stopped even more so felt their hearts trembling, boasting shamelessly, "Kill." Someone shouted. In the blink of an eye, Shahao wiped out this entire group. He stood there alone, overlooking the crowd. Supreme being ancient altar could not calm down again. Regardless of whether it was the spectators, or the tens of thousands of cultivators on the altar, all of their eyes were focused on the youth on the third layer. You are strong, however, today, you will still be fleeing from a calamity. Suddenly, someone spoke. This was a group of people that was led by 6 white-clad individuals. The 6 individuals each carried a precious case that was solemn and serene, surrounded by holy radiance. They walked over step by step. Shahao was speechless. They came down from the 4th layer, their speed actually this fast, reaching a higher layer, but coming back down again just for him. 6 Crown King wants your life, so no one can change your fate. Not even the heavens can save you. Someone from those 6 individuals spoke, extremely cold, but also quite aloof, just by relying on your strength. Shahao laughed loudly. By relying on 6 Crown King's methods, we will bestow death upon you. Someone said, standing from a high location, looking down on Shahao, 6 Crown King. What does that fart think he is? If you all are seeking death, then I will help you all do so. Shahao said coldly. In the 6 eras he emerged in, he established a reputation of being unmatched under the heavens, an absolutely dazzling figure, who created miracle after miracle, becoming an illustrious figure that could not be surpassed. Not only did he defeat all the supreme experts of the past, he had even killed a 3 Crown King in a previous era, shaking all 3,000 provinces of the higher realms. Whenever he was mentioned, everyone would always think of an unmatched, exceptional, insurmountable figure, heaven-warping talent, great and without equal. These were the best words to describe him with. Now that these 6 white-clad men came down from the 4th layer at the same time, it naturally triggered a commotion. Everyone was paying attention, watching carefully. Shahao was the only one that felt disdain towards this. Dao brothers, you all came at a good time. Let's kill him together. Another group of people arrived at the 3rd layer from a different direction. The people from several great ancient sects all appeared. There were over 100 people here, all of them supreme experts. They were people from 2 different sects that were walking together. Don't worry. We have accepted 6 Crown King's order. We have a great weapon that is strong enough to kill him. The 6 white-clothed individuals were all calm, not feeling any fear while facing Shahao. Even 6 servants dared to act so wantonly. Shahao said, looking at them. He didn't feel any aura of time passed from them, so they should be people of the present world. Who do you think you are talking about? A white-clothed individual spoke with a cold voice, his eyes chilly and ice-cold. They were all extremely unordinary, experts of their area, the outstanding talents of a few ancient sects that ranked at the very top. They only listened to 6 Crown King Ning Chuan's orders out of admiration for him. Otherwise, within their own respective sects, they would all be dazzling top figures. If you all aren't slaves, why in the world are you listening to orders? Shahao said, calm and unhurried. He walked forward step by step. Several tens of thousands of supreme experts, even though they were still climbing with difficulty, arduously ascending the altar, they still paid some attention to this place above. They were shocked. sixth crown king, who had shone brilliantly through past and present, sent people to kill the sinner's blood descendant. This left everyone shocked. With a wala sound, the 100 experts that had just arrived surrounded this place, about to take action together with the 6 great experts. In the distance, all of the experts looked over, wanting to see what kind of methods the 6 individuals had. A few older generation figures and even heavenly deities were paying close attention, all of them serious. Towards Ning Chuan, despite themselves being much older, they still felt restraining fear. Soon after, Shahao felt as if something wasn't right, some type of dangerous feeling pervading the air. That individual's palm shone, making the flames blaze with even more intensity. The case he held split apart. That was a bird beak, not that large, but sparkling red and translucent, surging with flames. It merged with the white-clad male's fiery radiance, drastically increasing its power. Was this the precious artifact bestowed by 6 Crown King Ning Chuan? Everyone was shocked, widening their eyes to watch closely. Following a bird cry, heaven and earth trembled. A string of fiery light erupted, and a divine bird that looked similar to the vermilion bird appeared, circling in void. It then turned into a scarlet-clad woman. It opened its mouth and roared. Fiery light overflowed into the heavens, submerging the area Shahao was standing in. How powerful. This is more formidable than Fire Cloud Clan's #1 expert. What kind of bone is that? Everyone became stupefied. Fiery light shone resplendently, illuminating the skies, burning the void until it's distorted. Shahao remained calm. This bird beak was definitely an exceptional item among precious items, and before its death, it was a top-level young expert. Even he could feel the blazing heat and danger. With a sure sound, he put up a barrier of light, blocking everything before him. Everyone was shocked. Even the descendant of Sinner's blood was taking this seriously, proving how unordinary this scarlet bird beak was. I understand what happened. This is a vermilion bird descendant 6 Crown King killed before, the young female supreme being of the Fire Cloud Sparrow clan. Someone among the spectators exposed the truth, triggering a commotion. 6 Crown King killed too many enemies, heaven warping and unmatched. A supreme being young lady from the vermilion bird bloodline fell, but her precious bone didn't split apart, and was seized by Ning Chuan. Golden light flickered about. When the great flames poured over, golden lotuses blossomed around Shahao's surroundings one after another, planting themselves in the void to stop the flames. Golden lotuses grew within flames. He blocked that scarlet bone with a strange magical projection, forcing back the girl that was formed. Calamity Dragon's sword kill. After the third precious case exploded, a tooth appeared that was splendid and colorful, but killing intent rushed into the heavens. It turned into a dragon, and while holding a sharp sword in its mouth, it hacked it towards Shahao, cutting through that streak of lightning radiance. Vanish. The fourth white-clad individual shouted. The precious case exploded, and a pearl appeared. The surroundings immediately became blurry. They all disappeared, and Shahao entered a strange situation. Desert, sea, palaces. It was like a mirage. That's a pearl condensed from the clam beast's Tao, a glorious ancient expert killed by 6 Crown King. The people couldn't see Shahao, only able to see a hazy expanse. Those were the void transformations of the clam beast, deceiving all. Then, the precious cases of the other 2 individuals exploded, and as a result, 6 streaks of light rushed into the heavens, drowning out this place. Bone texts were layered like ocean waves as they suppressed forward. Forget about the tens of thousands of supreme experts, even the older generation figures that were watching were moved. Those 6 bones merged together, forming an extremely powerful ring of attacks, submerging that area with their power. That place was extremely hazy, because of the clam beast pearl. Mist spread outwards, sealing everything off. Everyone heard an enormous sound. That region swayed, and a resplendent holy light shone. Then, a figure slaughtered out, blasting a white-clad male flying. The one holding the clam beast pearl coughed out blood, almost falling off the altar. Everyone was stunned. Even the older generation big name who spoke earlier was shaken. This descendant with Sinner's blood was so formidable, defeating this kind of precious artifact, sending it flying. Merge. A white-clad individual shouted. They all let go of their precious artifacts, and as a result, the beast tooth, bird beak, beast bone, and others rushed together, stringing together, and becoming sparkling and translucent, suspending themselves in the void, activated together. They shouted loudly. That precious bracelet shone. 6 streaks of hazy radiance spun about, scattering down endless brilliance, illuminating that place. Heavens, could it truly be Ning Chuan's 6 Dao Supreme Bracelet? This was a radiance that continuously flickered with brilliance, cutting the spirit and seizing the soul, peeling away one's Dao cultivation. This bracelet was exceptionally powerful, the power it erupted with extremely terrifying. Forget about Shahao who was on the scene, even the supreme experts that were far away below felt a pressure weighing down on their chests that was incredibly uncomfortable. They were simply about to go unconscious. 6 Crown King Ning Chuan is too powerful. Someone sighed. Even if the number 1 young expert came from a race, they would still die with resentment, because this bracelet's power was incomparable, enough to kill people at the peak of the supreme expert realm. 6 types of precious techniques shone in harmony, holy radiance illuminating everything. Shahao was as fast as lightning, continuously grabbing 4 people. They were all experts from the group that hurried over, throwing them forward. These were all well-known figures among supreme experts, but in the end, they couldn't even release a sound before they exploded, turning into ashes, as if they experienced the 6 worlds of destruction. This isn't Ning Chuan's 6 Dao Supreme Bracelet, but it is similar. It also refined his killing intent, the result of accompanying his side for a long time. A heavenly deity spoke, his eyes continuously flickering. Sure enough, a great disaster descended on them. The result was without any suspense. Shahao took action viciously, unleashing a great slaughter. Bloody radiance erupted, and the 6 white-clad individuals were all killed. Run! The remaining group of people were panicking. There was no way they could contend against this power. They all rushed down the altar. This made the faces of the great inheritances, older characters fall greatly. They were greatly defeated today, this humiliation difficult to wash away. Unfortunately, Shahao didn't give them the chance to escape. His spiritual bodies all moved, following after them and ruthlessly taking action, reaping lives. Under PU sounds, a group of people bled, all of them cut down. Outside the battlefield, someone released a low roar, releasing terrifying energy. This made a few ancient inheritances deities furious, releasing killing intent. On the altar, Shahao overlooked all of the supreme experts below, and then he looked outside the battlefield. After a brief pause, he turned around, rushing towards the top of the altar. He didn't want to waste any time, wishing to obtain the supreme liquid within that stone bowl. After passing the trial, he should head for the uninhabited region. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.